And here we go. Welcome to everybody attending this DXers community event. We are here today for the first meeting this year, and we have a very special panel of people from HCL leadership team telling us new things about what's coming and what's the state of the union. Here with me today is Dennis Delintero from the community.
Hi, good evening, good afternoon, everyone.
And for the first time, we got somebody else from the community getting to be a host. Robert van der Bremen is busy today with real work business, and so we got somebody to help. We will start right away with the HCL team taking the microphone and going to our presentation about the state of the union of HCL DX. It will be a 40 minutes presentation, so I will keep the time for you guys. And at the end, we will go for open questions. You can ask questions through the session, to the webinar tools, and we will try to gather and organize those.
That's correct.
Okay, let's go. I'm going to be hidden, and Andrew and people, the microphone is over to you.
Great. Thank you, Danelli. Thank you for a wonderful introduction. And it's great to be here with all of you today to go through this important topic. And what I like about this topic is we're going to give you a little bit more of a detailed insight into our direction and our roadmap. So some of you have seen our roadmap. Some of you may not have seen it. But certainly I can guarantee you wouldn't have seen it to this level of detail. And I know David and Mike and I are really excited to bring this to you. So next slide, please, Rob. So my name's Andrew Manby. I head up product management for digital solutions overall, which includes DX. And today I'm joined by David Strachan, who's our development lead for DX and also for connections, and the intrepid Mike Rowe, who's one of our senior product managers for DX. And I think you probably know those two guys very well. Next slide, please, Rob. So this is basically the structure of our presentation today. We thought that it was important to give you a little bit of a retrospective on how far we've come in the last year or so, and then really get into more detail or double click into where we're going next. And this has been a great forcing function for us to take some of our thoughts, crystallize them, and frankly, put them down on paper in a way that we can clearly articulate it. So it's been great for that. And as Danelli mentioned, we're trying to make sure that we give 20 minutes of time at the end to be able to answer your questions. Now, I realize that I know Mike and I and David have joked about it, but there's some of these slides in here, we understand we could spend a whole half an hour, an hour talking about it. So you're just going to have to bear with us, but those could be good topics for conversation at future events. And I'd be keen to see which one of those sparks the most reaction. So next slide, please. So I want to give a quick sort of perspective just to make sure we're sort of all zoomed in here, because this is part of telling the story. I know I've spoken to many customers, partners over the last 18 months, 2 years or so, really about what's happening about their business. And certainly, organizations have been faced with this digital disruption, originally around leadership, around innovating, but really because of the pandemic, 2/3 of organizations have certainly turned themselves into digital leaders and had to do whatever they had to do to continue to serve their customers. Also, I mean, probably 1/3 of them, of those organizations have, survived and got through, but they're certainly thinking about this next era, which is really thinking about being more digital first as an organization. And, in a recent survey of DXPs from the 451 Institute, they were actually saying that in the next 3 years or so, organizations, 57% of those organizations are evaluating how they can use DXPs to keep up with the demand for digital innovation. And 34% of those people are looking at DXPs for the potential of what they could deliver to organizations. So I think it's quite, considerable. I mean, it is actually an interesting thought that, some retailers are saying some of their customers may never come back to brick and mortar again. So, we're in a rather interesting situation. We're in a race, and we're very much thinking about where do we need to be to build those types of experiences that people need today and also tomorrow. So Mike, over to you to take us through, what we've seen.
Yep. So yeah, next slide. So you can hear me fine?
Yep.
Okay, just a sanity check there. So yeah, so looking at kind of, and I'm not going to go through each of the metrics here. Really, the point of this chart is to kind of say that we have a great number of, and you guys are all very aware of the numbers of use cases, the sorts of things that we leverage the DX kind of footprint to kind of power, right? Everything from kind of your employee engagement to learning and enablement to pricing, customer kind of transactional footprints. There's a great number of kind of success stories associated with a lot of those here, right? If you take the time to kind of look at each of them. So whether you're increasing membership and loyalty, you're increasing or decreasing, I guess, the bottom line, powering new experiences, just becoming more agile. This platform has, been doing quite a lot to power some of those things. And so if we actually look at the next slide. All right, so yeah, so one of the, examples of, I guess, actually a number of these use cases here. Alpha Team is, recently leveraged the platform and made a move from kind of that on-premise footprint into cloud native, powered by the Azure platform. Ultimately leveraging, the platform very, very well with the traditional kind of rendering model for a number of different, digital experience properties, but more moving now into a model where they're leveraging it in headless use cases as well, in combination with some commerce functionality as well. So now really powering both those well, I don't want to say legacy, but the traditional kind of browser-based experience, the native experience as well, but also now moving into kind of SPAs being powered by Content Composer and the DAM and the sets of headless services that we're offering, these things happening side by side. It's a great success story, not only for, getting off and really getting off to the races with that kind of cloud native footprint on the Azure, platform, but also a great number of properties being leveraged in many different kind of front end models. So, very exciting kind of story around that one. So, but with that, I'll pass it over to David real quick.
So let's talk about what we did in 2021. This is our fond look back. And we are not going to go into great detail about this. Many of you will know this, but I wanted to kind of recap what my team has done for you all in the last 12 months. And honestly, the pace of the last 12 months has been quite astonishing, really. Consider that 12 months ago, many of us were going back into lockdowns. We work on a 2-week clock, and so 12 months feels like a really, really long time. So what we tried to do here is to net out what the impact of some of the things that have happened in the last 12 months are. And that's the next 2 or 3 slides here. So, we invested significantly in the last 12 months in our Kubernetes deployment model. We transitioned from the operator into Helm charts, and those Helm charts were not a like-for-like replacement with the operator. We went a lot further with support for monitoring, logging, rolling update, as part of the enhancements to those Helm charts. We have more to do in the time ahead, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but really we've come on an awful long way there. We have shifted our support model from being focused around 4 main platforms to being focused around native Kubernetes versions. So instead of saying that we support Amazon and Google and what have you. Now we say we support anything that's Kubernetes, whatever version it is that we've tested at that particular point of time. We are just about to GA on our SOFE platform, which is useful from the point of view of combining products and getting access to those from a demo perspective. And part of this transition, as we've gone through the last 12 months, has also been to the benefit of people who are not on Kubernetes yet. We've aligned the release cadence for our traditional deployment with that for our containerized deployment. So both traditional deployment and containerized deployment get an update every 6 weeks, and they remain cumulative all the way back to 2014, which is kind of amazing when I say it like that. On the next chart, we're thinking a little bit about what we've done for practitioners, right, as a kind of catch-all term. And really, when you try to summarize what we've done the last 12 months, it's all about rethinking the way that DX manages user experience. So the new design studio came out in beta in June last year, and has really come on a long way since. It's still aimed at kind of simple landing pages, but the goal is, and you'll hear this later on, that it becomes a fully fledged site building tool. We've done work on the content side as well. We added, and this also goes for non-containerized deployments, we added features for multilingual capabilities. We added a whole new set of APIs around managing locale and URLs, exporting content, re-importing content. We added the theme editor and the layout editor out of the box into non-containerized deployments. And of course, we've been working on the DAM. We've improved the resilience of that product. We've made a number of feature enhancements in there as well. And so the DAM continues to grow in maturity. So the last 12 months in the kind of practitioner world of experience management, content management, asset management, have seen the product come on quite some distance, but also lay down some significant pointers for where we're going to go next. Lastly, but by no means least, on the next chart, we think about what we've done for developers. So 12 months ago, we were just starting down the journey towards DX Client. DX Client shouldn't be undersold, because the goal there is really to consolidate all of our various disparate admin tools into a single user interface, single command line interface that can be used both by individual developers and by people doing automation around those tasks. We've enhanced various APIs for the product. So there are new DX APIs available in the API Explorer. There are new WCM REST APIs that came along with Design Studio for accessing content, for accessing pages and sites. There's new APIs around remote search management. And in the core product, we've also added features around content security policy and CORS header management. So there's an awful lot of activity happened in this place. It's sometimes a little bit less visible than the other things, but it is no less important for all that. And the goal remains that anything that we're adding to the externally visible business user tooling has a corresponding API underneath it. So last 12 months have been very, very busy. Lots of new features, quite hard to keep up with some of the time, but I think we have come a long way. Now, really, on the next chart, the message is that the fun starts. Right? We have laid down a lot of foundations. The team has grown in maturity over the past 2 years with HCL, and now we're really ready to start motoring. So what we're going to do is transition now to talking about where we're going to take the product. So Andrew, do you want to pick up from here?
Oh, sorry. Great, David. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, that's great, David. I think it perfectly sort of sets the scene, starting in this next section here is, we fervently believe that DX is the fastest way today for practitioners, developers, and IT to deliver those trusted experiences. But I think is what is new and which is foundational to what we call our North Star internally is that idea that, content is king, or is still king, but it's not only the applications that you integrate with, but it's the applications you build. And it's also about the processes that you put in place or integrate with that's going to be important. And if you think about the intersection of those and delivering those across an omni-channel, delivering them as an omni-channel experience, that's really where I think a lot of people sort of get excited. And we have a very specific take on how do we get there? And that's the piece that we're going to unfold in the coming slides. So next slide, please, Rob. One thing I wanted to really make clear, and this is something that we all fervently believe in, is that building a digital experience should be a team sport. And today, that could mean involving the COO, it could be the chief digital officer, it could be your design team. But increasingly, to get from A to B to deliver that trusted experience, it takes a village of people to be able to get there. And we understand that, and we want to embrace that. And you'll see that in what Mike is going to be sharing with some of the concepts around how we accelerate the role of the team. But we want to open up what we do to a broader swath of people who can help us drive to a specific outcome. So over to you. Next slide, David. I think this is yours to lay down the concept.
Yes, it is. So some of you will have seen this before, and I make no apology for that. We came up about 6-9 months ago with this visualization of our overall direction of travel for the product and the portfolio. And what we're going to do is take you through that, and then we're going to delve into it with something more concrete about what that means for DX. And in the end of that segment, what we'll get to is what's happening in the first half of 2022. Okay, so we're starting at quite big kind of concepts and zooming in as we go. So to tell this story, we start from your customers, right? From the end users of the experiences that you stand up with DX. And around that, on the next build, we see the kinds of things that people build with DX. I'm sure many of you will be familiar with these things, maybe not those exact ones, but they are all characterized by bringing together content, processes, applications, and something which is very often logged in, very often role-based. That goes right back to the start of WebSphere Portal 20 years ago in a lot of ways. That mission hasn't changed. The technology landscape has changed, but there's still a valuable business problem to solve in producing these kinds of things, which is not solved by simply doing custom application development, we believe. Now, when we think about what DX is providing, one of the things on the next build that it has is when we unify DX capabilities with some of the other ones in our portfolio, we get to this thing that we call a composition platform. So Design Studio is a key component of that. Forms is a key component of that from the non-technical user perspective of putting together parts of user experiences. That composition platform needs to provide other services like orchestration, like event management, like device management. It needs also to provide certain application development capabilities around low-code application building, for example, API management. The overall vision here is one in which that unified composition platform is assembled out of capabilities that we already have in products like DX and Leap, capabilities that we already have in products like MX, and new things that we're yet to build. What will it compose? So in the next build, we see a set of modules. This is never intended really to be a complete set of modules. There's plenty of things I can think of that I could add there. Really, it was driven by the real estate on the screen. But if you think about commerce, if you think about content, assets, search, maybe authentication, security, those are all things that our composition platform can bring together. Right? We tried various kind of layer cake assemblages of this. It didn't really work. This notion of centering around the end user and composing that user experience from the building blocks we felt was much more powerful. Now, the missing space on the right there in the last build is all about what you bring to it, and of course the extensions and customizations and ecosystem that needs to build up around this, because obviously we HCL are not going to provide every last module you ever want to integrate, and so that application integration remains really important. So that's the overall vision. We call this the wheel chart. That wheel as we guiding us towards the kind of long-term direction of our customer experience platform. Andrew, do you want to provide a bit more detail?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's double click, go to the next level of detail. So let's take the composition platform and break out three important themes, two of which we're going to dive into a lot more detail. The first is that area of team acceleration and integration and automation. It's sort of clear to us that, being able to support or use the product headlessly is really important. I mean, I really am thrilled that, this product hasn't, and all of our products actually have an API first mentality, and David's done a lot to be able to enable that in multiple parts of our product capabilities, and we're doing that aggressively in the roadmap. But I think as we think together, that in order to sort of go faster and really give that team the weapons and the tools and the capabilities that they need, we need to take on a lot more of a citizen development and more of a sort of a low-code mentality to go faster. That doesn't mean to say that you can't use the product headlessly and we won't support it. We will. It just means is that in enabling us to sort of go faster, enabling people to build those experiences and those forms and those applications and do the integration with, the Salesforce Marketing Cloud or whatever you want to do, and we'll be able to automate some of your tasks and processes. We've got to be able to add additional layers of capability to our DX stack to make that easier. So you'll certainly see us do that, and you'll hear Mike mentioned it when we get it in team acceleration. Under integration and automation, we want to greatly simplify how we do integration across the board. If you want to do individual point integrations, that's fine, but we want to greatly simplify that. And also, we want to rationalize or improve how we do application development on the platform and just basically make it easier, and also update many of that as well. So with that thought in mind, I'm going to hand over to Mike, who's going to talk about Mission DX 2025. Mike.
All right. And hopefully the audio is a little better. Looking kind of at the roadmap, this is quite a lot of fun, actually. How to kind of distill this down into these kind of 5 theme areas has been quite challenging, but really this is kind of where it's settled, in the end. The idea being, as we kind of look forward at what we're doing next and the sorts of kind of new capabilities going to be included, we're going to enable, the team, right, to build things faster, less code, and, more inclusive of every role. We're going to create, great integration tooling and automation tooling that's going to help to power those custom applications and get them kind of into the footprint with ease. We're going to work to enhance the ability to kind of personalize and target, the experience on any channel, kind of removing some of the complexity roadblocks that, maybe some of the traditional kind of API footprint has provided to us. And beyond that, we're going to look to kind of enhance the ability to govern and collaborate on the experience throughout its life cycle, providing additional tooling for transparency and duration as well. And then in the end, and something that we're always going to be laser focused on, we're also going to be remediating the actual deployment architecture so that we can deploy cloud native in a modular footprint, and overall reducing the amount of time to do repetitive tasks and empowering self-healing and automation, kind of lowering TCO over the course of time.
Let's talk about these themes a little bit, because I think it's important to say that this is the first time we've used this slide. We built this specially for this meeting. We've been thinking a lot about where the product needs to go. And so the purpose of these is to kind of try to articulate some of the attributes that we think our product needs to have over the next 3-4 years, basically. So we can now delve into 3 main themes and talk a little bit about what that means in more concrete detail. Andrew, did you want to add anything to those 2025
no,
things? Or?
No. I think it's good, David. I think everyone should sort of recognize is that those are going to be perpetual themes that you're going to see us dipping back into with every single release. But part of this vision about where we need to be, we're actually calibrating and say in 2025 we will be able to deliver on all of these things. And we've made good progress. We still got a lot to do, but we'll give you a snapshot of what to expect mid-year. It's all good, David.
For sure. Okay, next slide then, because I want to make sure we leave enough time for questions. Daniela will be on our back if we don't, and that's kind of important, right? So, in terms of our marketing department talks about containerization with the term cloud native, and in this audience, let's just go with that, right? So, what have we done? We have put the product into containers. Now, to an extent, that is taking the monolith and putting it into containers like WAS in a box. We have also, however, over the past couple of years, added new capabilities that are only available in containers. That's really important. We think it's really important that there's some functional benefit for moving to containers. I talked already about what we've done with Helm, right? What we've done to improve operations, and we're going to continue working that thought to make the operations and administration of DX much more natural fit for that Kubernetes and Helm platform. We can't talk about this without talking about developers, right? So developers, we've done a partial job around APIs. We've really got a lot more to do. The goal is to have, and the goal is the same as we've had for a couple of years, actually, right? With the product, is to ensure that you can develop with abundant and modern application development tools, right? I was with a customer yesterday, and we're talking about, can you hire developers with portal skills in your country? And the answer is no, you can't, right? So in order for that product to be viable for them, they have to be able to work with the skills that are available in their market, which tend to be more front-end developer oriented than Java. We still have the intention to break the monolith down, right? We started some work last year on a kind of proof of concept basis to look at what it will take to break the product apart. Thomas Hurek and Ganesh Magani in India were working on that in quite detailed fashion, and we've learned a lot more about what that's going to take to do. Don't expect that to happen too quickly. However, there's a lot of work involved in it, and we obviously want to do it in a way that doesn't compromise the integrity or the stability or the performance of the product. We have work to do to go and replace legacy technologies. One of the first ones we're doing is the Stellent outside-in document converters. That's an easy one, but obviously the big and more complex ones, right, things like WASND, are going to go hand in hand with breaking down the monolith. And then maybe this is a more internal thought, but as we move into this containerized, modularized architecture, that opens up the possibility for us to have shared components across other products. So search, for example, is an obvious one. Access, asset management, security, access control. There's a bunch of features and facilities there. That the benefit for customers from that is it now allows us to go faster in the long run. So that's an active topic of conversation at the moment. If we go on to the next slide. Mike, is your audio sorted, or do you want me to kind of push through these?
God, I hope so. I've switched to my microphone on the laptop.
Oh, yeah. Listen to that. That sounds brilliant. Okay.
Look,
then you can do this
magic bullet. Great. So, all right, looking at that kind of the application development footprint, right? And what we've done here on this slide is kind of depicting, smurging the kind of old with the new. So as we look at this chart, right, it's, when we look at kind of data integration, the things in blue here are essentially what we're moving forward with kind of leveraging and adding to the mix. So obviously we're going to be putting a lot of kind of combined engineering effort, leveraging Volt Foundry to power the kind of application and data integration, footprint moving forward. That's a big one. But of course, we're going to continue to allow and enhance the custom development, that we all know and love and have used for quite some time. We'll continue with DDC, and of course, relative to Leap, the sorts of service catalog and integrations that can happen on that footprint. And we'll probably, to some extent, kind of leave behind, not necessarily remove, but the things in red here, the web application integrator and CMIS connectors, as there are more configurable options available to us in a forward-looking footprint. So for the UI, we're going to expand and make more capability around the kind of script application, and part of that is going to be also adding this Volt Iris version, or some relationship to the script app, the Volt Iris application being deployed on that DX footprint and available for the authors to assemble alongside their content and assets and designs. So and then of course we've got the kind of existing script apps, which will continue to be available. But we'll add also web component capability as well, so that we can bring those into the mix and start to leverage those as another modern option at building the components necessary for the experiences, and of course the web application bridge, and really we're going to continue leveraging the use of custom portlets in perpetuity. So and then we'll, as I mentioned before, kind of look at the web application integrator kind of in a legacy mode. And then, for the application development platform itself, right? So the first and probably the most exciting is the idea that the Design Studio is essentially going to power the citizen development footprint. That is to say, it's not only about authoring. It will, it will be the tool that we can assemble those citizen developer applications on the same the same glass that we're authoring our content and managing our assets. In those situations where we need to kind of transition into a more professional developer kind of requirements, that's where Volt Iris is going to come in and help to kind of enhance and power those requirements. We're going to enhance and in some respects make whole GraphQL support, so that we can really kind of get off to the races on some of those more modern headless or SPA driven use cases that leverage graph for for the inclusion of things like the content. Continue obviously enhancing our REST APIs and as I mentioned before, our script apps, and then portlets will continue to be in the mix. They're not going anywhere. We're making updates at the moment to some of the footprint as we speak to modernize the web experience factory, and looking at JSF bridge and things like that to try and enhance those functions as well. And then we'll start to see that the legacy APIs, the maybe 21 or so different legacy APIs that are involved, are all going to be essentially looked at exactly like that, the legacy. So, and of course, all of this, as David was talking about, the DX client and its importance, how it can't be understated. We'll use that and more to unify that kind of DevOps process and make it right for the kind of round tripping or virtuous cycle that Andrew likes to talk about between the line of business practitioner and the development practitioner. So, if we can move to the next slide. So when we talk about the team acceleration, and I have to be careful here, is these images aren't exactly what we're going to ship. This is the sort, it's a great depiction though on the sort of thinking that we're doing. Ultimately that thinking and these kind of wireframe exercises are driving us to a spot where we can create kind of a task-aware, role-specific workspace that's going to intermingle all of the things that are necessary, for any practitioner working with a solution to kind of do their job, layer in the governance required. It's going to enable the teaming, for project collaboration. We're going to make this extensible. It's going to be preference driven. I can go and essentially, sign up for the thing that I want to see, whether that's notifications about things pending in my workflow, or adding widgets on the screen that's going to show me analytics relative to kind of the user journey, or even system performance. All of this, kind of making it a customized, tailor-made view for me, the practitioner that needs to get in and start to be effective. So, and of course, this will be the launching point, right? The place where we intermingle all of the tooling for that citizen developer requirement, for that integration requirement that we've mentioned, powered by Foundry and other mechanisms, so that I can bring it all together and just start to be extremely effective and the thing that I'm meant to do, right? My practitioner role.
All right. So in the interest of time, I'll just keep it short. I mean, we have a milestone coming this year, the mid part through the year, that all of us are really excited about. I mean, the headlines for us is, in the first area, it's really integration without limits. That's the first step that we're taking on our convergence strategy with our VoltMX MXDP product. And what this will bring to the platform is really that 60% less time taken to do any of these integrations, and really our extensibility story. In the middle here, built for growth, David's been unpacking what we're doing with Kubernetes. We've got more work to do, as you heard him with the river slide that you saw, but we're also introducing a commercial model that goes with that as well, that you've all been asking for. And lastly, I think you've heard from Mike here, lots of great things to do from a team acceleration and bringing in really that focus to make it easier to do more and to do it faster. So Mike, let's drill into the details.
Yeah. So around that integration, right? It's kind of, it's actually going to be one of the PowerPoints, right? For the team kind of images that we saw, and obviously the developer footprint. The idea here is we're going to provide that first, real kind of Foundry integration, right? We're going to make it so that the data and APIs that are needed for presentation on the experience are available to the designer, the author, in a drag and drop fashion. So bringing that data integration very real way into the design studio so that I can essentially drag and drop my experience into existence. Of course, we're also going to be enhancing some of the kind of DAM capabilities, making real a staging production lifecycle, and automating some of the kind of metadata image tagging sorts of requirements, so that we can aid in not only the presentation and targeting of assets, but also enhance the metadata, so that I am always in a headless way able to kind of target and pull and query for the appropriate things and show in the appropriate way. And then, of course, relative to that extensibility we're going to use for that, that automated tagging, for instance, we're enhancing the DAM in a way that it's going to be extensible, and we'll have patterns and configurability so that you can write your own extensions and start to, enhance the functionality with kind of custom whether it's event-based functionality or extended metadata that is specific to your deployment. All of those things will manifest, for that mid-year milestone. So when we look at that built for growth column here, we'll continue on, the enhancement relative to the Kubernetes deployment, making, transparent configurability, right, with Helm. And we're going to introduce additional kind of automation support for that, and metrics to inform that automation, so that rolling updates and kind of keeping the lights on can be an automatic thing that we just sit back and watch happen. That's the dream, right? So we're also going to, relative to Sophie, we're going to introduce an external, Docker repository that's going to allow and help to power that automation that I mentioned for those rolling updates. So hopefully the days of having to, download the binaries previous to, actually applying the update are gone. Simply, we'll be able to leverage that external Docker repository to stay up to date all the time. And then, of course, and this is not to be understated, our packaging. We are going to be releasing that consumption-based licensing model that we've all clamored for a long time now, right? This is going to make all of the kind of architectural changes into something that's extremely manageable and consumable from a pricing perspective, and we're very excited about that. So details in short order, to come around that one. So relative to the actual design experience, so in Design Studio, you'll see full site support. Coming at that mid-year level, you'll see, the ability to start intermingling, some application functionality. It'll start slow and iterate at a rapid pace with kind of JavaScript widgets, and we'll also be enhancing it to the extent that we can now leverage custom workflows in that Design Studio footprint as well. For the actual page editor within there, we're going to make a number of enhancements, including a number of the components in traditional web content management, relative to kind of lists and navigation and so on. But what's more is we're adding, actually it says symbols. I should have noticed that and changed it. We're adding what we're terming consumables. Reusables, which ultimately is a way to, flag a component for reuse down the line in your site, or, externally, for instance, in headless, renderings. So beyond that, we'll continue to enhance personalization in the sense that, we're adding new APIs that do anything from the CRUD operations for those personalization rules and managing them to actually invoking those rules and leveraging them on any experience, headless or otherwise. And then we'll see an update with Leap. So ultimately updating some of the capabilities, the application's design, and a visual workflow editor as well. So for those using that Leap tooling, there's some very, very real and usable changes coming, and it's going to be very exciting. So, and then of course at the bottom here, we will be making some changes. We're actually replacing some of the document conversion capabilities relative to Stellent, which will be detailed in the near term here. We are making current the web experience factory so that we can update the JDK and maybe in some of the portlets and reinvigorate some of the support for those old WEF portlets that are sitting out there, and then also some NFR updates are imminent as well. So that kind of covers what we're looking for by mid-year. There's plenty more to look forward to beyond that scope, but ultimately we wanted to make sure that we're putting in front of you the things that are imminent in this case.
Great, Mike. Thank you very much. So next slide, please, Rob. So this is what Mike was saying. We could do a whole session on this, and maybe we need to do this, but we're proud to announce that we're going to be releasing Leap 9.3. The key focus, just in short, is really a big focus on the application design, from new concepts like navigation, data grid, app pages, a new name picker, rich text fields, new JavaScript editor, corporate themes. There's a lot. And then on the thing on the right here, we're introducing a whole new visual workflow design paradigm. And, it consists of role and stage-based rules. Anything that you did before in designing those stages and those roles, you can do this graphically. this is a considerable release that we're going to be bringing during this time frame. I know you'll enjoy it. Next slide, please. So sorry, we're sort of motoring through this. So as Mike said, did we say that there's a new pricing model coming? Yes, there's a new pricing model coming specifically for Kube delivered solution. It'll be a specific part and BOM. David is busy working on a next generation dock site, which we're all sort of thrilled about. And lastly, on this slide here, I know Herbert should really have a session on this entirely. He's been doing a yeoman's job with himself and a number of the other members of the team to really build out the Software Academy content for DX. And hats off to him, but we'll get you more of those details. Next slide, please. Right. So, as the guy who's responsible for product management, I'm thrilled to say that the team has been revamping all of the content in AHA. That's where we collect all of your ideas. They've been busy grooming it and getting it ready. We are going to open it up so people can browse it without a login. If you want to submit an idea, you still have to go into register with us. But please check it out. We are investing in it. It works fantastically for the other parts of the portfolio, and you'll see us putting a lot of effort in it. And we really welcome your feedback on that. So lastly, I think the next slide, please. The three of us have really enjoyed developing this roadmap. I hope you're as much as excited as we are about it. As you can tell, we're driving towards a North Star that we have, but we're trying to think differently here, right? Because the way the market is currently structured, we don't believe is how people will want to build digital experiences in the future. And we're building towards that future today. So we're all very excited. I hope you are too. And then with that, I'm going to hand over to Rob and Danelli, who are going to open it up for questions.
At this point, it appears we are getting for a wrap up. We will publish some information on the next event. We will have discussions in the community. And at this time, I would say thank you very much for everybody attending and for you getting the time to prepare a special deck for us. That was very, very good. And let's keep up the good work. And now we can get our calendars for deliveries.
Forward it. Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, Dennis. And thanks, Tim.
See you soon. Thank you, Dennis, for
Thank you. Well,
yes. Thanks for filling in, Dennis.
We're going to do this a lot more. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye.